Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome to my deck. It's another Saturday. It's a beautiful Saturday. It's actually cooler around here, so I was able to get out and do some raking, some cleaning, and I didn't get all sweaty and worked up. And then I thought, let's share a bit of whiskey on this great weekend. So I want to shoot another American single malt. You'll see I've got a taster pack here. I'll talk about that. Talk about this whiskey itself, and then I'll compare it to Stranahan's, which I shot, I believe, last weekend. So this will be a look at Westland. This is just their regular American oak single malt American single malt whiskey. Well, I kind of flubbed up that introduction, but I think you understand what we're looking at today. This is American single malt, which I actually think is a very interesting category. I haven't had a lot of it, so I'm by no means an expert specifically in American single malt. But what I appreciate is, it's single malt, so it's all barley. Single from one distillery, but it's unique. It's not like, I'm glad I have Stranahan's to compare it to, because it's really there's some Canadian single malt that actually is very similar, but when I compare it to single malts from Scotland, some really nice Scotch, it's a different flavor profile. So this is out of Washington State, so it's Northwest, and this is no color added. Unchill filtered. It's released at 46%, and I thought the bottle had a see-through. I think I just showed you the label. It's released at 46%. It's all barley. As I understand, there's 5 different types of malts in here, and maybe I'll list them below. But it's a variety of different barley malts, and I think 90% of it is sourced from Washington State, which I think is great. I really appreciate when there's a lot of local character in whiskey that I'm trying. And I love it that it's unchill filtered and not colored. It's aged in a mix of new American oak. I thought it was actually all just new charred American oak. Stranahan's is just new charred American oak. This has some ex-bourbon casking in as well, and I don't know ratios. It's about 3 years old. Let's see what the whiskey tells us. Outside here, while I'm on my deck, but with a lot of air, there's a bit of vapor and water, but this nose is actually pretty good. It's got already roast qualities in the nose. So for me, malt sugars, brown sugar. My wife got peaches and honey. That's too sweet for me. But certainly a sweetness to the malt. I can get little echo of maybe a nuttiness, but certainly already a cocoa or roasted malt, which could be a bit of a coffee note. And spice. A little pepper, a little cinnamon, a little bit of citrus, but deep or older citrus. So like I almost said blood orange. I don't eat enough blood oranges to say that, but I was thinking orange, whatever deep orange is. But there is some youthfulness to it as well. By that I mean it's a little sharp, a little in your nose. Yeah, more coffee, more roast is coming out now. See how it tastes. Cheers. Hope you have something to drink along. I think whatever fruit I was getting in the nose, the palate to me is dominated by malt and roast notes. Roasted nuts, baked Christmas spices, deep cinnamon, clove, nutmeg. quite a bit of chocolate in the palate for me. Or espresso coffee, like it's deep coffee, unsweetened cocoa, except that there's quite a bit of sugar. So even more espresso and cocoa, some really deep roasted notes. The finish actually is a bit dry, which I like, but now my mouth gets a little bit of pepperiness. I think that's to youth though, not to essential grain or essential pepper note. It starts to be peppery and a bit spicy kind of in the mouth and in the edges of your palate. And I really think that's because it's a little hot and it's a little young. The finish to me really pushes into that espresso nature, oak, leather, a little bit of bitterness, but it's not an unpleasant bitterness. Yeah, really settles out. And the longer I leave it, I mean, I haven't had a lot of it. The longer I kind of leave it and just kind of walk away, the more it settles into that. I think it's got to have some chocolate malt in it, some of that deeper roasted barley, because that's what I'm clearly getting in the flavor profile. I like it. And I haven't had a lot of it, but heartily recommend it. And I'm very excited to taste their peated expression and their sherry wood expression. This was a perfect way to buy it. Locally here in Alberta, Wine and Beyond had it for half price. Any distillers or brand ambassadors that watch this channel, please always release tasting packs with a minimum of 200 ml bottles. I can't, it's so hard to reach and pick up tasting packs that have 50 ml bottles. Those are hardly anything. This, I'll have enough that I've had a few tastes. I'll be able to taste it against the one beside it and whatnot and discover what I like. This to me is a solid 4 stars. All right, well, that's what I think of the Westland American Oak. And let's just a quick kind of comparison note to Stranahan's, which is very similar on the label. By that I mean it's nothing but malted barley, one distillery, aged this time entirely in new charred American Oak. I think char number 3. This nose has higher fruits, cut apples, pears, and a lemon citrus. I would still say this is a deeper roasted nose. This is a fresher nose. And that more perky, sprightly nature is also present in the malt. Actually, quite similar flavors. That malt sugar, kind of oat nature is still there. A little more fresh wood, a little more, not sawdust, but cut wood on that. Definitely lighter, fresher. The Westland, a little more cooked down. The edges of leather, that little bit of smoke. Oh, and I just can't get away from that roasted chocolate or roasted espresso. A viewer the other day said, why don't I hit everything with water? I do when I'm making my kind of critical notes. I have a little database I keep for myself. I've tried various books. My wife bought me one recently. It's tough for me to do them by hand. But definitely water in the moment really acts to change the nose. In this case, a bit of water. It didn't improve the nose for me. It made it a little sharper, and it did maybe brighten the fruits up. Smooth out the palate. Palate's a little gentler, a little easier to take. I find, water adds a little more effervescence to the nose, so it seems a little smoky. But it's not really a smoky dram. But a mix of brighter, quicker fruits and a little whisper of smoke. Interesting. Well, I rambled on long enough. I've already shared how I love this taster pack, and I like this style of whiskey, American single malt. I'm definitely paying attention to it and looking for bottles. In my neighborhood, it's actually tough to find different expressions, so I'm glad that I've got the, what's it here, peated and cherry of Westland. But would I recommend trying Westland? Absolutely. It's really fantastic. And again, any Canadian distillers out there, put a portion of your malt in some new charred oak. I really think that's the key of what's going on here. Not just relaxed, that kind of stuff. And also looking at different malts. The chocolate malt, now it's coming out again. The chocolate malt, I know there's some Belgian malt. There's all sorts of different maltings here. Really added flavor to this Westland. Thanks for joining me on the deck. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday. Hope you're staying safe and my family continues to be well, and I hope yours is too. Cheers.